universal basic income, open borders, 15-hour work week. Really, just, I mean, this is like a book. This is like Freddy Krueger for a GOP person. This is like nightmare stories. That's what this is.
Indeed. Did you see the picture of Rupert Murdoch reading?
I actually did. I did see that. We have that picture, Rupert Murdoch. Like, how do you feel about that? There is one of the people you're speaking about.
I framed it, obviously. It's a picture, yeah.
Like, when you talk about these issues, like universal basic income, for instance, seems like a crazy idea. You're just going to pay people to not work, then why would anyone work?
Yeah. Well, what not many people know, actually, is that if you go back to the 60s, almost everyone believed, all the experts believed, that some form of basic income was going to be implemented in the United States. And it was actually Richard Nixon, of all people, who had a bill for a modest basic income that got through the House of Representatives twice and was only killed in the Senate by Democrats, not because they didn't like the idea of completely eradicating poverty, but because they wanted a higher basic income. So it's a pretty bizarre history that I describe in the book. Another bizarre thing is that actually there were major trials with basic income in the US back then. Thousands of families received a basic income just to test what would happen. Turns out it was really effective. Healthcare costs went down, crime went down, kids did much better in school. But then there was one problematic finding, is that they also found that the divorce rates went up, quite a lot. Because a lot of women were like, okay, I'm going to leave that asshole. But then all the conservatives obviously said, okay, we don't want basic income anymore. This is going to make women much too independent, right? It was only 10 years later that they found out that they had made a statistical mistake. So in reality, the divorce rate did not go up.
Oh,
it's a pretty bizarre history full of...
Wait, let me ask you this then. As a historian who is basing your arguments on things that have actually happened, does it frustrate you when you see politicians like Trump, I guess, misstating their plans based on a history that they don't seem to understand themselves? Because, like you said, Trump says, we're going to do it the way it was, but then when you propose the way it was, he's like, no, I don't like that. Do you think that as people in general, we just don't know enough about our histories?
Well, what frustrates me the most are these people, the so-called moderates, the centrists, who say, oh, that's never going to happen. That is too radical.
Right.
If you zoom out a little bit, you see that so many times in history, utopian fantasies have become reality. I think that's important to keep in mind. The democracy was once a crazy idea, right? The end of slavery was once a total fantasy. It all happened, but it never starts in the center. It always starts on the fringes with people who are first dismissed as radical, as crazy, as lunatics, right? So I guess we got to be a bit unreasonable sometimes.